The ANC's Deputy Secretary General, Ms. Jessie Duarte. Welcome to our special broadcast.
Thank you.
Once again, happy birthday.
Thank you very much, and happy birthday to all South Africans. This organization belongs to all of us.
Well, from an organizing point of view, it's all systems go, everything going according to plan?
Well, not exactly. I think, we pledged to always be upfront about it. The stadium is filling up slowly. We've had some difficulties with the transport. There are many roadblocks that have been put up by the city of Cape Town. Our understanding is there's also a national contingent of police, which we had requested because we felt that perhaps the city of Cape Town's police services may not be able to cope. As they gave us an indication, they may not. They had so many rules. When people have so many rules, you understand that perhaps it's a capacity problem on their side. The roadblocks are causing a difficulty for us. We've had one train stall in Worcester. We've had some taxis not turning up in various smaller communities like Malawi Camp and Freedom Park. The people were waiting from 4 o'clock. The taxis didn't pitch up. That's been resolved now. Our biggest issue was getting people into the stadium. The searches were taking so long. The police were searching everything, opening up food, opening up all sorts of things, and we've resolved that now with them. It looks better. I think they accepted that their perspective on search just wasn't working. But it's all systems go. We're nearly there, and the stadium will be full. We're still expecting a lot of people to come there. Hundreds of buses outside at the search point, still waiting to be for people to be offloaded, and then of course they have to walk from there. So it takes about 15 minutes for that to happen. Hopefully, before the president arrives, we'll be ready and good to go.
Everyone will be here who is supposed to be here. Of course, I mean it's the first time in my coverage of these events that you've had the level of security that you have. Is it completely unnecessary in your view, or, as you say, is it an issue of challenges, capacity challenges?
As you know, we've had dozens of major events in stadiums double the size of this. We've never had incidents of violence at an ANC rally. We've had a rally here 9 years ago, which went perfectly well. But of course, at that time, it was just at the point of the turnover. So I guess the DA had not yet sedimented its perspective, which is actually quite draconian, frankly speaking. I mean, I'm wearing the blue armband that they denied. They said we must wear. No blue armband, no entry. That was the message. I'm wearing it in protest, actually, to show that they provided, the city provided these armbands. Even despite the fact that we said, you've got counters at the turnstiles, you will know when the stadium is full, and we will accept when the stadium is full that no more people will enter. We have an overflow. Yet the armbands were insisted on. Yesterday they were complaining about the decibels of the sound. Now we explained that we have experience. We've got to have sound that at least has a capacity to travel 10 kilometers, because when the stadium is full, bodies absorb the sound. Everybody who's in the business knows that, except the city of Cape Town. Outside, the level of police is huge. I mean, it's massive. We're not sure what they're looking at. We're unclear about that, but we're here. Let's leave it for now. I think what South Africa must accept is that this is a beautiful city with a government that is emulating the old National Party government, and there's no difference. We don't feel that this is South Africa, but it will become South Africa. We will bring it home.
Now let's move on then to the day itself. What are we expecting
President to say? We're going to focus a great deal on the ANC itself. regeneration of our structures on the ground, reinvesting in ANC cadre, getting involved as volunteers to ensure that the policies of our organization are properly implemented by those that we elect into positions of power. So a much more robust relationship between governance and accountability on the ground. That message will come through. Secondly, we will talk about the land issue quite extensively. In this year, we must actually take through Parliament the legislation on the restitution of land to the majority of the people in this country. That's the second issue. We talk a little bit about education in South Africa, our concern with the rising costs and escalating costs of tertiary level education. So the national bursaries for poor students never meet the costs, no matter how much more money is put in, because the Minister of Higher Education announces an increase in the NSFAS. Universities in the country put the fees up by 6 to 9%. So we're still at 0.0. So that's some of the issues we're raising. We're talking about, and what we will do about it as the ANC. We talk also about the economy a great deal. Bottlenecks in the economy need to be undone. The NEC of the ANC felt fairly strongly that accessibility to the judiciary was an important matter for the average and ordinary South African. You don't need to have money to have defense, and you don't need to have money to know that when you get to a court, your justice will be done to you, and on both sides, that people are not unjustly accused and never have justice, or are accused and have justice of a particular kind that is quite it isn't justice, it's just a statement.
Let's explore,
yes.
Jessie, if we may, just the 4 or 5 issues that you've already
Sure.
raised, perhaps starting
Yes.
with the last one.
Sure.
There is a sense out there that, for example, a lot of people who wrong the public in some
Yes.
way or the other,
Yes.
or who don't do what they are supposed to
Sure.
do, who don't do the right thing,
Yeah.
which links to the first issue
Yes.
of building the kind of cadre
Yes.
that is responsive
Sure.
to the needs of
Sure.
South Africans. That a lot of them are allowed to actually use state money to actually defend their wrongs or delay processes, and in that way they have better access to justice, whereas the poor who have nothing actually battle to get justice. Is that your sense as well, or is
We're not hearing that from people at all. I mean, and we do talk to people often. The issue that we're hearing is access to the lower courts. The fact that at the lower courts of our country, perhaps there needs to be a better mindset change on both the side of legal representatives as well as the prosecutors and the magistrates themselves, with an acceptance that the laws that are being applied today are the laws that exist in a democratic South Africa with a human rights culture. That's where we're from. And a lot of our people are concerned about the fact that either they don't get access or they wait a long time before an issue where they were wronged or where they may have wronged gets to court. Those who have wronged spend a long time as awaiting trial prisoners. Those who have been wronged and are victims feel that they have to wait a very long time for justice. So that's the issue that's being raised. That's the issue that's being raised. I think also this concept of the cost of justice is whether or not there should be a judicial system in our country that costs so much that it's inhibitive. For instance, going to the Constitutional Court. Every citizen in our country must have the right to go to the Constitutional Court, but it's hugely expensive. A silk in South Africa, which is what you need to go to the Constitutional Court with, who is appointed by an attorney, both would cost you an hourly rate that is huge. And in the instances of many people who might feel that they have a challenge in the Constitution can only do it when a political party does it, or it is done through an institution or an organization. It takes away from the individual. Those are the kinds of issues people are raising, and they're fair issues as far as we are concerned.
Let's talk then about the first issue you raised, which is building the kind of responsible leadership, the kind of responsible cadreship that serves the interests of the people.
Well, the first point I want to make is that, it is not true that every ANC cadre in government is doing something wrong. The majority are doing very good work. And it's unfortunate that what is focused on would be that minority where things do go wrong. It is that minority that we want to address within government and in the ANC. To say very directly, whether you're a civil servant, a councillor, a mayor, an MPL or an MP, it's a calling as far as the ANC is concerned. It's not a privileged position above other people. It is something we are entrusting you with as an organization which is 103 years old, has gone through a protracted war in South Africa, understands quite well the distress of not being able to access government services adequately. And people must not make excuses about not delivering. People must not be able to say with ease there's no money when there is. And people must be able to account for the fact that the 90% of the money that goes into government must go to the services of the people. Do away with the facts, the entertainment, all those things that are unnecessary, and really implement the policies of the African National Congress. So all we're asking them to do.
We've run out of time, unfortunately, for this interview. Just one last bit, very, very briefly, at DSG. You're putting the land issue up there as your number 2.
Yes.
Take us through what lies behind that.
It's taken too long. We started off with willing buyer, willing seller. It didn't work, and it was the wrong decision to take. The Constitution talks about just and equitable, as well as an ability to expropriate land in the national interest. And that's where we're going towards. There can be no better national interest than restitution of the land to people. People have been dispossessed of the land, not only of the land, but of their skills. Because when the land was taken, the skill with using that land went with it, as people were taken to the mines and to be domestic workers and other servants of the apartheid state. We're not looking to blame apartheid, we're simply saying this: the land must be restored to people. It won't be done irresponsibly, and we do not advocate land invasions. That is anarchy. We have a constitution and we're going to abide by it.
Ms. Jessie Duarte, the Deputy Secretary General of the ANC, talking to us about things to expect when President Jacob Zuma later on goes through that speech of the National Executive Committee of the ANC, commitments they will be making before our nation.